Hello, everyone out there in YouTube land. So, I watch a lot of booktubers, and they're usually fantastic. I would not call myself a booktuber. My reading's actually been kind of slacking, and in the last couple of years I've gotten back into that. But I notice a lot of people don't talk about writing. And the thing about it is, just because you love books doesn't necessarily mean you like to write. I love both. I also have come across people who like to write but don't actually like to read. I find the latter a little bit more strange, but that's still just me personally. So I'm gonna sit here and ramble and chat to you guys about what I like in stories, what I think makes a good story, and whatever else. So I noticed in a lot of these book tags and stuff, there's always what book made you love reading, and I guess that can apply to writing too. Like, what made you want to write? And here's the thing, and it's actually kind of sad, or it could be kind of good. I don't remember. I was one of those kids, like a million others, when I was like 8 or whatever, that was really into dinosaurs.
Why?
And of course, I brought home books with big, long words or names of dinosaurs. You know, that my mother or whoever would have to read to me. I guess I read other stuff too, but I was really into dinosaurs. Yeah. Then, of course, eventually I had other kids' books. And I always loved learning. I guess the dinosaur thing would kind of prove that. But I went from dinosaurs to cultures and religions as I became a teen. Certain parts of history, just intrigued me. Certain mythologies. I still find animals fascinating. So I guess it just came naturally that I would like to write because I liked learning. And to me, a big thing that makes a good story is good research. And it could be research on anything for any genre, depending on what you write about. I am currently looking up kind of cyborg robot things, also pandemics, plagues, viral diseases and all that other kind of stuff, to find the best apocalypse. Because I am planning on submitting a story, which I have until April 30th to write. It's a short story. So no, I'm not attempting to NaNoWriMo in April. So no, I'm not writing an entire novel. I failed at that twice. I didn't even make a 5,000 mark the last time. But it was fun to do. But before I get off track here. This book is an anthology. And it's not a lot of money, it's just a little extra cash. But if I'm picked, I will have my story in a book. It will be with probably a few other authors, maybe 20 or whatever they pick, but it would still be in there. And I am just researching things, researching what disease could affect this, what virus, are certain people more likely to get? How can it spread? What is its, effects on people? How much damage could this thing do? So I'm putting research into this. Because the idea in the anthology is life after the apocalypse. They want you to focus more on what happens afterwards. But to me, finding out what the actual apocalypse was will help me shape the world of what happens after my apocalypse. So yeah, research is really big, especially when you are adding more realistic kind of things. It can be for fantasy, teen novels, crime, mystery. That's a big one. You might want to study up on law and what lawyers and cops and judges and all that other stuff do. The sentencing for crimes and all that other kind of stuff. Yeah, I think that would be a big one. It's really not my thing, but I'd imagine you'd probably have to do all that kind of research. And of course, there's sciencey kind of stuff, science fiction or whatever you want to call it. Obviously, it would have to have some kind of possibility or reality. At least some degree. Like, if you're gonna make a spaceship or whatever that people are on, have it be more realistic and how it would function, I guess. Maybe research the distance between planets and the moon and all that stuff, like I've also been doing. Research the temperatures on the moon and other planets. So yeah, research is a big thing to me in making a book, because you want to build this world and you want the reader to get lost in this world. And if there's too many flaws and it's too unrealistic, they're going to be like, I know I'm reading a book here. You're not drawing me in. Okay? I'm very aware that I am still sitting here on my couch reading a book. Your world is too fake for me to submerge myself in. Characters and dialogue. I love first person point of view. I know sometimes when you want to extend beyond certain books, it can get hard. Like if you want to make a movie, it's kind of hard with first person point of view because it's only that character's point of view. So sometimes I have to add things to it, to the movie, to kind of make the stories make sense if you haven't read the book. But I love first person point of view because you can really mold that character. Yes, it's one character that you are speaking through, for the most part. But you really can get inside that character's head. You can really project their emotions onto the page, and the reader can really grow with them throughout the book. That's kind of my experience with it. I do love, the third person too. That one is pretty good to me. In more younger books, I don't know why. Like more juvenile fiction. But I think when it comes to longer stories that are a little bit more serious, a little bit more drama and tragedy and stuff like that. I really love it being told from one point of view because, like I said, you get all those feelings and you can really build out a character with that. It is only one character, but I think you really can do a lot with that. So, you know, and the character itself. Well, it is your character. Do whatever you want with it, but understand that there's certain things people just don't like. For one, don't make your character ultimately beautiful and perfect in everything. Just like your story, just like your world building, your character must be realistic, at least to some degree. You know, don't make, like, her pretty, you know, like, you know, the stories about the girl who's, like, the outcast or whatever, and she's actually really pretty, and she just doesn't know it. And then you have all these other characters, like, if they are pretty, and they're not the main character, they're, like, all bitches or whatever. Or the bad guys are ugly for some reason, because your morals change your looks and stories. You all know what I'm talking about.
Can they please lay down in there?
Yeah. You know, make your character realistic. Give them normal human thoughts. One of the reasons I love The Hunger Games, despite its flaws, because I don't think that world would actually work for 75 years for them to get away with that stuff. I haven't read the third book yet. Certain things of it would make sense. Just not for that length of time. But anyways, what I loved about the book was it is told from first person point of view, from Katniss's point of view. And she is very much a human character. She does things that I kind of was like, really? You're still gonna do this? But at the same time, she had to do it to survive. And she was kind of torn between things. And that's kind of what I like, you know, in stories. For them to do sometimes appalling things. For them to be brats. For them to cry. Or for them just to take a moment and, you know, just show love to somebody. You know, like a normal human being. Someone who has feelings. Bad feelings, good feelings, mixed feelings, whatever. Don't make your character one-sided. Please, for the love of God, don't make them a stereotype either. If your character is blonde, she does not have to be an idiot. Don't use stereotypical racial names. I'm not talking about racial slurs. I'm talking about, like, names for people. Like, what's written on their birth certificate. You know, and if it is, it should stand out. Like one person mentioned in another video. You know, if you have something like that, give them a backstory. Did they come from a foreign country? Did their parents come from a foreign country? You know, don't just stick these stereotypes on people and just expect it to be entertaining. I guess that goes back to the research thing. There's just so much that actually goes into making stories. There's just so much research. There's so much thinking and planning and, you know, brainstorming. You remember that crap you used to do? Like, in school, where you drew the circle, and you wrote the main idea in there, and then you branched off and you made little other circles. Like, say you want to write about a boy who wanted a puppy, so you write boy wanted a puppy, and then you write ask mom and dad, and then you extend it over here. You write in the other circle, mom and dad says get a job, and then of course there's the other circles where he finds his jobs and his mishaps at that and whatever else. Yeah, even for children's books, there can be like, you know, massive brainstorming and research and character development. Don't think because you're writing for a child that you need or you can make shit characters. Okay? Make them good characters. Because the reader will think you, well, even if they are young, as they keep reading and they go back to that book, they will realize that somebody thought, you know, they deserve to be treated like intelligent beings who are learning and who are open to learning. Because that's a very impressive age for kids. You know, so don't start them out with stupid characters. I'm not saying sound like Einstein for a 3-year-old. I'm just saying that as your stories build up, for those age groups, as the story changes, or the characters do, let them change with age. You know, do not write for an 8-year-old the way you would for a 3-year-old. Don't write for a 14-year-old the way you would write for an 8-year-old. Kind of keep, you know, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think y'all know what I mean. If you have a book series, it's important for characters to change or to come across challenges that challenge them, you know, not just physically, but in the mind. You can really start children thinking about things at a young age, but that's just my opinion. And I'm kind of rambling on here. So, yeah. So I've covered rambling on about character development, what else? World building and research. Dialogue. Dialogue, before I forget it, is an important thing too. But that you have to watch out for that stereotypical thing too. But also remember that sometimes it needs to be used. Usually you should use proper English in your stories, proper grammar. But going back to the first person kind of thing, it's not always, it doesn't always make sense. Take the book Precious. Precious is told from the point of view of Precious Jones, who is a girl who basically grows up in the ghetto. She's illiterate, you know, uneducated. So for her to talk like she's an English professor would not make sense. Of course, she's going to talk more in slang and misspell words and mispronounce things because, again, she's a character, according to the book, who is uneducated.
Hey, Mommy.
Hi, sweetie.
Okay.
There's your scissors. Be careful.
Okay.
So, yeah. I know I'm kind of like just repeating things, but I just wanted to talk about books or talk about what I like in writing and maybe give a few pointers on making a good book. Not to say that I'm an expert, because I'm still in the process of writing all my stories, yada yada yada. But this is just what I think. You know, so let me just lay it all out there. You have a story idea. You start brainstorming. Alright? Main idea. Main character. What happens to this character? Where does the character live? You know, is it a real place? If it's an actual state or a country, do your research on that. What is the history of that place? What are the people around there usually into? Like, what are big events? What are big jobs there? You know, make realistic characters. Give them a backstory. Don't focus too much on their appearance unless it's significant to the story. And, you know who your target audience is, so you can write the character properly. You know, no stereotypes. If there is, it needs to be pointed out. It probably should be a joke or whatever, but try not to use them. And you know, just make sure it's all realistic. You can have fantasy and all that, but to some degree, make sure some of it is a little bit realistic. So yeah. Thanks for listening to my rambles, because all this up in my head is like everywhere. And I just have to get it out. Nobody ever really talks about making stories. They talk about reading stories. They don't talk about writing them. So that is a few things I thought that helps make a good book. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like and subscribe. Bye-bye.